Disabled person views Disabled Meteor Part 107, Arcane. There's a lot of disability in the show, and I think my overall reaction to it is like, yeah, it's not the best rep I've ever seen, but it's fine. It primarily appears in one of two ways: a thing that exists that nobody really talks about, or a thing that is intrinsically related to a character's primary motivation. And that's fairly par for the course for this genre. I do wish it were less tied to motivation where possible, because that could be a very slippery slope. I also take great issue with the mad scientist dude whose name is literally singed and is covered in burn scars that have greatly affected his face, because the trope of the mad scientist with a facial difference is at least half of the mad scientist that we get in media. I do think the addiction conversation is fairly well handled, as is the underlying message around how marginalization both is and leads to disability. I think the reason that I'm not giving it a glowing review is because I sort of expected, based on how people talk about the disability in the show, that it was going to be something new that builds on what we've already seen with disability representation in this genre. And to me, it felt almost boring in that regard, which isn't bad, of course, but I think there's a next step to the story that it could have taken that it chose not to. And an interesting point that comes along with this is the fact that Arcane is based on the League of Legends video game, which came out in 2009. So what, to me, just meeting this world for the first time here, feels sort of like, okay, but we can do more than that. But it's actually a really strong attempt to sort of overhaul a lot of the serious issues that were in the original intellectual property while still keeping it true to the source material as best they can. It doesn't feel like an energized, exciting, and interesting representation created from scratch that is aware of all the bias and stereotype and knows what it wants to play with there, because it simply isn't created from scratch. And that doesn't necessarily change my opinions of it, but it is an interesting angle with which to look at it that I wanted to point out.